If you think making money on LinkedIn is hard, you're absolutely wrong. It's actually easier than ever. The problem is most people go about messaging prospects the wrong way, and it leads to making zero sales. My name is Marcos, and at our content agency, we've generated over $3 million with LinkedIn DMs alone. And today, I'm gonna explain exactly how to target the right people with money to spend, what DMs you need to be sending, and the exact scripts that we use at our agency, and exactly what you're doing wrong right now. So even if you're new to LinkedIn and you haven't gotten any results in the past, stick to what you learned in this video and you'll be just fine. But before we look at a single DM conversation, there's something very important that we need to do first. Whenever you get a message on any platform, but specifically LinkedIn, the first thing you do is click the person's profile and see who they are. Now imagine you got a DM and you clicked on somebody's profile and they had a bunch of gray pictures, no headline, no bio, and no links to click. You're gonna think it's immediately a scam. And that's why what we're gonna talk about is the 3-second credibility test. And it's the exact reason why 90% of DMs get ignored. So we need to go over exactly how to set up your bio with featured links, headlines, company logos, and a cohesive bio. And this is something you could easily ignore, but it could be the make or break difference that separates someone who makes $0 and makes 6 figures from LinkedIn. So looking at my profile here, there's a couple of key things you wanna look at. The first thing is you wanna look at the header and the company logo. That needs to be set up correctly in order for people to see that you are a legitimate business. And the way you set up a company page is you just click for business in the top right, you create a company page and you add your logo. And then when you go down to the experience, you can actually add it as your experience and make yourself the founder, the owner, or whatever your role is. Speaking of experience, you wanna make sure that you add your entire career journey because it actually makes you look like a human. For example, I used to be in the Army and I put down my Army experience, which then led into starting the business that I have now. And what it does is it gives me a little bit of a background and a little bit of an origin story for when people are DMing me. And it even gives me a chance to relate to someone if for some reason one of my prospects is also a veteran. Moving on from there, you have your headline. So for me, it's CEO at the Birdhouse. We build viral, profitable personal brands. And then from there, we go down into the headline. So for me, it's CEO at the Birdhouse. We build viral, profitable personal brands on LinkedIn, which also matches my header and my company logo, and also matches my about section, which tells a little bit of a blurb of a story about how I started the Birdhouse, what we do, and what we offer. Additionally, and this is a great one, if you went to college, you always want to put your college logo in the profile because this is exactly what I said before. It just gives you another layer of authenticity and origin story. And again, gives you another chance to relate to your prospect if they've also been to your alma mater. And this is one of the neat things about LinkedIn. It allows you to actually build your persona around your education and your career experience. And on a platform like LinkedIn, where you're targeting C-suite executives or mid-level managers, the credibility of having a university in your bio can actually add a lot to your conversion rate. And then scrolling from there, another important thing is having your featured links dialed in. So for me, I plug my YouTube, I plug our LinkedIn newsletter and our email newsletter. And this just gives me even more cohesiveness in my profile that ties everything together. Speaking of which, we send newsletters every single week with value just like this. AI is destroying you, AI content that doesn't suck. If you want to get those emails directly to your inbox, you can subscribe in the link below. And it seems like a bunch of unnecessary work at first, but when you just take a quick scroll of my profile, it really is a 3-second credibility test. I get to my profile, I read a couple things, I scroll, and then I decide if I want to answer that DM or not. And this is the exact same profile setup we implement across dozens of different clients on LinkedIn with hundreds of thousands of followers. So this is backed by data and not just opinion. And before I show you some messages that have converted into 5-figure deals, I need to show you exactly what not to do. Now here's a great example of what 99% of LinkedIn DMs look like. After leading successful customer success programs, blah, 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 the usual roadblocks look something like this. If these resonate, happy to chat. He just drops in a Calendly link and says best. This is the worst DM that you can send. It's literally just leading with no value. It's just dropping the calendar link in the DM, and it's just hoping and spraying and praying that you're gonna book a call. It builds no connection, has no authority, and this doesn't even make me want to click his profile, so it doesn't even require the 3-second credibility test because it's so poor. And here's another one that is just driving the point home. Hi, I work with US tech teams to help them ship products, even giants like Microsoft and Google, to outsource to protect margins. Would you be open to a quick chat? This is one of the worst ways you could ever close a DMs, is just going straight for the kill and saying, would you be open to a chat? No serious business owner or C-suite executive is ever just going to be open to a quick chat, especially with a random person that they've never met before. And you can think I'm being harsh, but this is the raw reality of what 99.99% of people do when it comes to LinkedIn DMs. I see people as high up as Fortune 500 SDRs sending DMs just like this every single day, probably to just hit some sort of bullshit quota, which is why we teach our SDRs to be highly conversational and build raw, real connections with the prospects before pitching any kind of service. And now I'm going to show you a few DM conversations that have converted into 5-figure deals, and it's going to become very obvious why these work compared to the ones we saw before. It's important to note that there are 3 types of DMs on LinkedIn. There's cold, there's warm, and there's hot. A cold DM is typically what you would send using something like InMail on the Sales Navigator, and I typically don't recommend this because the conversion rate is much lower than the 2 DMs I'm about to show you. So the first DM conversation we have here is from a connection request. And on LinkedIn, you can actually send connection requests to followers, viewers, people who liked your content, commented, etc. And once they accept that connection request, you now can send them unlimited messages without spending any InMail credits. And the script we have here is, "Hey David, really appreciate the connection. I'm curious, are you looking to buy yourself or mostly just following along with the content?" And for context, this is a client account, so I'm going to be bleeping out any sensitive information just so we don't give anything away. But what I can tell you is over the last 18 months, we've generated over $2 million in cash collected from LinkedIn alone. So this prospect responded, said, "Hey, good morning. I'm interested in buying a but just trying to find the best systems to plug into. There are several and hard to tell which one's best for me. What's different about yours?" So our SDR responded saying, "What do you mean specifically by what is different about my system?" And then a little bit about our opportunity that we're selling. That said then, what part of the business acquisition processes do you feel you'll need the most guidance with right now, finding the right type, etc., etc. And then we responded, "Hey, I appreciate the kind words and the detail. I don't really run these calls myself, but you can set up a call with our team," and we sent over the calendar link. And this is exactly how you transition a call to an SDR or a sales team from a personal brand DM. So just breaking this down a little bit further, in our opening message, we essentially do what's called a this or a that script. And that's saying, "Hey, are you looking to do blank, or were you just following along with the content?" And this gives the prospect a very easy reply. They're only picking either A or B, and it allows them to essentially get the conversation going and let their guard down. And then you slowly get into the detail, like for example, "What do you mean specifically?" And we just continue to dig deeper and ask questions till we can get to their pain point before pitching the call. And now this next conversation is from what we call a hot inbound lead. That is somebody who DMs you first, whether it's a keyword or it's just a long-winded inbound DM requesting information about your service. This is what we call a hot inbound DM, and it's handled a little bit differently. So in this case, we did a piece of content that had a call to action saying, "If you're interested in what we have to sell, DM me keyword biz and we'll give you a little bit more information." And this is an inbound lead who DM'd us that keyword. Then our sales guy responded saying, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. Curious, what has you interested in acquiring a Also, be sure to check out my latest free guide. This will give you a great overview of the process and the idea behind acquiring a." And then he just sent him a little bit of a free resource. And then the prospect responded, answering our questions exactly, saying, "For the last 15 years, I've done X, Y, and Z, but I'm always looking for new opportunities." And that's when our SDR responds saying, "Hey, love that mindset. With your background, you're in a great position to do this." Now, I want you to note that our SDRs are making actually genuine connections with the prospects before pitching anything. We're asking them questions, we're giving free resources, and we're leading with value before making any pitch for a call. And this is a long-winded conversation, but just to give you a high-level overview, we go really, really deep into his pain points and really make sure that the prospect is serious about this. Having a 5-figure ticket price, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, you need to make sure that your prospects are serious so you're not wasting your sales team's time. And as you can see here, we said, "Hey, let me know if this is something you'd be interested in. I can set up a call with my consultant who can break down the process of how everything would work." The prospect says, again, "Yes, I'm interested and serious." And we said, "Gotcha, let's schedule a call with my team who can break down the entire process of what's working." And then we shot the calendar link. And eventually, after the sales call of both of those DM conversations, each of them led to $10,000 sales. And those are just 2 of hundreds of DM conversations that are happening a day across all of our clients with this exact same framework. So now I'm going to run you through a quick workflow that you can implement for your DMs today. So step 1, you're going to send 200 connection requests per week. You might be asking, why is it so low? And that's because on LinkedIn, you can get flagged if you go anything above that. And you actually want to focus on high value, high touch conversations rather than just copy paste spamming all of your prospects. So in this case, it's quality over quantity. So with those 200 connection requests, you can expect anywhere from a 40 to 50% acceptance rate, which will allow you to have anywhere from 80 to 100 new conversations per week with your ideal customers. And one thing I really want to point out and drive home is that if you want to be lazy and try to opt out of doing all of the hard work and use some sort of automation tool or copy paste hard selling messages, it is an absolute no-no on LinkedIn. This will get you not only suspended, but can get your account permanently banned, and you'll never be able to make another LinkedIn account again. So I repeat, no automation tools and no copy pasting your messages. So if you have a good offer, a cohesive profile, and the scripts we went over today, there is a 0% chance you do not make some money from LinkedIn. And if you want more in-depth breakdowns of how we're crushing on LinkedIn every single day, make sure you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and the link is in the description. It's completely free. We give out a ton of in-depth value that we don't get to go over on YouTube in these short videos. So again, sign up, link is in the description, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.